What's going on YouTube? If you're tuning in to this live, make sure you do me a solid and hit that subscribe button. Welcome back to another video with Digital Goats Academy. But today is our live
What's
analysis
going on
for
YouTube? If you're
live
tuning
trading.
in to this live,
Make sure you do me a solid and hit that or otherwise known as live trading. I don't show my trade locker, so I just do my inputs on trade locker, but my analysis comes from TradingView. So let's actually look at US 30. As you can see, US 30 is slightly selling off right now. But let's talk about what happened this week, what we were expecting. So US 30 definitely took a plunge this week. And we were discussing this before, but again, for me, I got caught with my pants down. But these were still areas that I was still looking to buy up from. Remember, we talked about this maybe about 2 weeks ago, where we said that, when we identified a 9:45 a.m. candle on the 15-minute time frame, whenever we create a zone for it and extend it, we want price to come back and test that area, either it, partially or definitely a full move. To me, this is considered a full move. So this sell that we had this week, even though price was building up the momentum to sell off, the only thing I think that price was doing was just trying to push back to a support structure, which we are right here now. Because again, what we've been seeing consistently is that whenever we zone up the 9:45 a.m. candle, 15-minute time frame, and extend it, we know that price needs to come back and test that area again. We can see it very similar if you look to the left, like where my cursor's at. We can see it even on the selling side. I have all these 9:45 candles zoned up, 15-minute time frame, and I extend them. And then as you can see, price eventually comes back to that area and then test it in order to push the market what? To continue pushing the market in that direction. We saw right here, we sold off one time, then we bought back up. Price came back to the 9:45 candle. And again, it's not in the same week. So if you look at this, yeah, this was like a whole 2 weeks apart. You know what I'm saying? So man, that's definitely an eye opener right there. I said something that was profound for me. Self-discovery, right? But anyway, you can see that price sold off here, even on this 9:45 candle. And again, it's not going to be as clear cut for every zone that you mark up with the 9:45 a.m. candle. I would only pay attention to the ones that are produced based off of support and resistance, strong or major levels of support and resistance. Even over here, sold off, very choppy, then bought back up. Let me see what day that was. May 7th to May 14th. So a whole week later. So you see, it's not what we saw initially is that if price is gonna like for example, if we were gonna sell over here, this was a confirmation that price is going to continue to sell, but we don't know how long the sell is going to be. So what we need that confirmation for that direction, you know what I'm saying? So what we had over here on May 21st is that price bought up, and then this was the confirmation to say that we're continuously buying up. Now we have our pullback to say, yes, I tested this area, so now we should be moving away from it. Buyers should be present back in the market. I didn't even think that the sell that we had, even as vicious as it was like a sell to bring the market down fully. I'm sure there was a lot of traders that was thinking otherwise, that price would probably, drop a lot lower. But again, these are, when you look at it, it's still market structure, and these were areas that we identified already. So even if I extend May 18th zone, right, you can see that that's what? That's previous level of resistance. Turn it to a line chart, we can see that price did what? Pushed all the way down to test the high. Test the high currently. So to me, this is our buy zone. This is where I'm looking at buyers to be. This was really our main area, even though we had opportunities to buy up high up here. But at this point, this is where price sold off. So now we're at a strong level where, like I said, buyers should be present. And the fact that we bounced off of here last night, and when we did our pullback this morning for 9:30, we broke up. To me, that's all the signs I need for price to buy up. So same thing with S&P. S&P actually played off of the zone that we mentioned yesterday. All it did was fill the liquidity of this wick that it produced. Which was that? Was that the same one that we were talking about? I think this is the same one we were discussing. Oh, it did a full 100% of it. So I remember saying that we were probably looking at least 50%, but as you can see, where price do? Price did a full 100%, almost 120. So all we did was pull back to this area in order to bring the bulls in. So yeah, all I'm thinking is that price is pulling back to this area over here. Remember, it's still, we're in another hour session. So we should expect a 10 a.m. candle in orientation to the 9 a.m. to pull back. Where are we at? So right here, price is still choppy. Like I said, I'm still looking at this as our buy zone, unless price were to break down lower, but I don't think that we're going to break down lower. I think that this is exactly what we were looking for, and especially since we targeted this area prior to this. So everything is just, how the buy is going to, manifest itself, but these were areas that we previously had marked up. So the only thing that sucked is that we identified the sell, we just didn't, take advantage of it. So that's definitely my bad on not really paying attention to the sell. I mean, I knew that price was going to sell off, but I thought we were going to break a little bit higher before we had this plunge all the way back down here. As you can see, price decided to do that last week. And yeah, that was pretty much our sell-off in order to bring the market back up. I'm convinced that once we hit this area, we're buying up from here. It just depends on how long price decides to stay in this general area. But I don't think, based off of what we have today, just with the momentum, I'm sure that price is going to try to break these levels today. It's just going to have to settle itself. Yeah, I like what I'm saying. NASDAQ was the only one. Okay, we mentioned this too. So with NASDAQ as well, NASDAQ, oh man, it's presenting a potential inverted head and shoulder. I doubt that it is. And we probably need something on this side. In a perfect world, that's what it would do. But like I said, we're still at previous support levels that we already had that price did not return back to, that we already had marked up prior to this. So the fact that we're actually positioning ourselves back at these support levels that we didn't come back and test, I'm looking at today to be our buy zone for all indices. The price is still fighting to push higher, but like I said, since we bought up from this area, overall, I'm thinking that either price is trying to establish support or is trying to test one of these highs that we broke up out of. More than likely, it'll probably push down to support. So if we get a push down, obviously I'm still buying up. But if price decides to test the high in order to break to the upside, that's still enough clearance. But either way, like I said, these were areas that we were targeting to buy initially. We just have to, wait for price to pretty much sort itself out to buy up. I know that move was kind of harsh on a lot of traders. Well, if you were paying attention to it, if you were looking for it, it wasn't that harsh. Man, it is hot right now. Hold on. So yeah, even with price selling off right now, like I said, that's just the correction that price needs to do. as buyers present themselves, but I don't think that this is the continuation of the sell-off. I think that this landed us right where we needed to be. So if you look at structure, you know what I'm saying? If you ignore everything else and just look at the structure that's being made, 3 hour time frame, if I just use my cursor, that's support right there until price what decides to break it. But this is the first time we've been here since we pushed up from this position in order to do some type of correction to validate that buyers are in the market. We have yet, I mean, this week was finally the move that price brought us back, which it took us, like I said, was this a whole nother 2 weeks? Basically 3 weeks, almost 3 weeks that it took us to get back to this level. So this is something that we talked about before where we said that with indices now with a lot more traders and investors into the market is definitely getting a little bit more crafty when it comes to how it manipulates. So it gave out all this money in order to take all that back. So as we move forward into the year, we just got to be open-minded to that possibility or the market reacted in such a way where it's like it's going to move strong and then come back even stronger. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, structure was made. We just need another low for price to clear us off, or if it's trying to create support down here. Everything's moving a little bit choppy. I know ECB, the European Central Bank, ended up they had their, I think they had it. No, they didn't have an interest rate decision today. They had a meeting, but I forgot what President Lagarde was discussing. So I think that stuff actually seeps into the U.S. market as well. So we're seeing this kind of pull, this kind of downward spiral just from, investors overseas as well. But as far as like the structure is considered, we can push down here to create support. We do have an identifier, which is what? Which is a morning star pattern right here. Small, it's not the strongest morning star pattern, but we already know morning star, either we come down here to fill this 100% or we test a percentage of it. So if you just do the high into the low of the possibility of price testing down here, it'll put you at what? The high of this wick over here, which is between 23%, 23.8 and 38.2. So that's a strong price pushing down here and then bouncing off of that 382. That signifies strong momentum in the buy direction. Obviously, if price violates, then we know that sellers are still strong in the market, but I've been buying since this morning. If we get something, like this, or just a strong push, or like I said, the other option for us is that if price pushes down here, I'm trying to change this to I guess I can't change it. Only to do this to make support. So I'm hoping this makes a lot of sense to the traders out there. If we get a push down here, obviously price is trying to establish support around where our identifier is, which is the Morningstar pattern, which we know signifies buyers within the market. But yeah, we're at a standstill right now, so I don't really know what price is trying to do. Obviously, it's accumulating orders and trying to manipulate traders in both directions. So I'm going off of this move that we bought up from here. We just got to see how price, sorts itself out. If this is just consolidation and then we're going to continue to push up, or are we going to push down in order to create support down here? I like that we're testing the high, but like I said, the way this market's been moving, it's been like it'll be violent, then it'll be kind of stagnant. So we just still got to wait for what price shows us. But I do believe buyers are presented right here. Like I said, I bought down here, even though I got crushed this week by being a little bit too gun ho. But this is why I emphasize keeping your markups available because a lot of times price comes back to the areas you identified initially. And then if you not even if you weren't patient enough, there's still opportunity to either collect some type of coins back or, make a better move. So with this information, I'm going to clearly look to make a better move going into next week. But I'm glad that we did return here, and I'm glad that we saw price actually start to bounce off of this level. This was the primary level that I was looking at initially. And even when you look at S&P, we were looking at those areas. Where was that? Where was that candle? Oh, we're looking at price to collect liquidity off of this side. So look what it did. Push down with a wick and then finally push the candle through. Anytime I see a candle pushed on the opposite side of a wick and I'm looking for whatever direction, whether it's a buy or sell, I'm gonna roll with that price ultimately filled that wick. It collected the liquidity it needed, and now price is gonna push, in the direction that we intend. So you can see over here that even with S&P, we broke out of this high, but even outside of that, what did we do? We tested. We're creating support currently right here. So the only difference is with S&P is that is it going to try to push down here? Same thing. Is it going to try to push down here to create quote unquote true support, or are we going to create a lower high in order to boost the market back up? I'm thinking the lower high because we've already bought up from here, and this is what, like the second time we've tested this area. So we have one, two. If you can count the wick, I don't really try to count the wicks, but if you want to count that, that could be considered a third touch. But it just depends on how you approach the market and what time frame you're looking on. I would say this is just two because if we turn it to a line chart, you can only see this dip, you can see this dip. So yeah, it looks like we're establishing either trying to test support or test the previous high in order to buy up. So everything's stagnant right now. It's not, it's slow. But anytime I saw the market buying up, it normally happens like this: slow, not methodical at all, indecisive a little bit. But if you have your parameter set, which is the zones that we've been discussing, there shouldn't be an issue. You just have to wait for the market to play out. So today, the market's just acting slow, even after that move, even after yesterday. You can see that anybody that was selling the market has pretty much like slowed down on the sell, which the sell was definitely vicious this week. But yeah, I think that we had this what is this 8 hour candle? So this 10 a.m. candle, I'm looking at it a pullback. I'm looking at that to be considered a pullback in orientation to the 2 a.m. candle. The reason why I say that is because I got this on a 8 hour time frame, which is a custom time frame. So you're probably like, how are you seeing a two o'clock candle and then the next candle's at 10 o'clock? Well, that's an 8 hour difference, obviously, right? So that's a custom time frame. You can't trading view or definitely trade locker doesn't let you do this, but trading view doesn't let you doesn't come equipped with this without doing customization. So you would have to upgrade your package to whatever one that allows you to do more customs. I think the free one does allow you to do this, but I'm not sure. I have like the second from the free because I need that. But anyway, as you can see live, the market is responding the way we want. You know what I'm saying? It's slow, but it's giving traders time to make a decision on where they wanted to buy from. Now, me, I definitely would have wanted to buy off of this area down here again since we had this push up, but we'll see how the market plays out. This was my original buy zone over here. And this is, like I said, this is what we were discussing. Now that we're here, we can be a little bit more confident that price is playing out the way that we want it. All this liquidity sweep makes perfect sense. Now that we have the data, unfortunately, but it makes perfect sense. But yeah, I'm looking at buyers to be in the market and us to pretty much get positioned higher up. So again, our examples are the previous 945 candles. I even did this with NASDAQ. NASDAQ was the first one that I was actually using this system with to see, and it was really just to see about the zones. It wasn't about like identifying a 945 candle. I just started noticing stuff and I was like, well, let me use this. I guarantee you use a 945 candle, you'll have more information to work with. It's not telling you like you buy or sell. I mean, it can, but it's more so of gathering more information to have an accurate entry. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that this provides that. Like I knew that eventually we would come back down here. I just didn't know when. And I'm glad that we did it now versus, you know, um, 2 months down the road from here, and then price is like, you know what? This is the day that I want to sell off. You know what I'm saying? So we finally reached the support structure we needed to be at, which was that 945 candle. Hopefully we push away from here, but price could stay in this general price range, like this general area over here, before actually bouncing up. The only thing that we're waiting for is to see, is price going to push up from here while being that it tested a high, or is it going to try to push down a little bit farther in order to establish support? I think this constitutes as the support in orientation to this side over here. But again, I don't make the rules in the market. We'll just have to see. As you can see, it's still kind of stagnant. But again, buyers have presented themselves since we're looking at it since 7 o'clock last night, and that should be across the board. So since 7 o'clock last night, buyers have been in the market for indices. And as you can see, again, the same thing, the same identifier we have, consistent, like very consistent with it. Look, morning star pattern. Buyers are in the market. You know what I'm saying? Morning star pattern. Buyers are in the market. Morning star pattern. How many times are we going to see these type of patterns before we're like, oh man, that is. And again, if you don't know what a morning star pattern is, Google it. You know what I'm saying? Like do some research outside of just listening to myself or what other traders are telling you to do. It's not going to just jump out at you if you don't understand it. Like you gotta get some type of understanding yourself. So Morningstar patterns are by patterns, but if you want more detailed information, I recommend using the Candlestick Bible, or I think there's other web pages out there that break this stuff down way more in depth. I don't think you need to know any more outside that it's a buying pattern, maybe how it's produced, you know what I'm saying? But outside of that, I don't think you need to know like I used to research that, but I don't think you need to know anything else besides that. This is a buyer pattern. This is a buyer's pattern. So buyers are presented in this market. So we just got to see how the market responds the rest of today. But like I said, I'm looking for the market to still maintain its uptrend, especially since from where we bought up from last night, it just depends on where we're trying to create our correction at. Are we trying to bring the market down low in order to test support again, or are we trying to just test these previous highs to create some type of trend? But yeah, that's what I'm looking for, traders. So nothing really much to go off of, besides the last move that we had last night. So I would love to make this more extensive, but it's not really more that we can discuss at this point. It's just about taking the entry and then watching the market play out. We understand that we do have to let the market play out. We do have to let the market sort itself out. Just because we're buying and we expect the market or selling or enter. Just because we enter the market and we expect it to do XYZ doesn't mean that it's ready to do that. It could take the full day in order to build the momentum it needs in order to boost up. So from here, it's giving you enough time to make a decision. You know what I'm saying? I already told you where I bought at and what my expectations are. So at the lowest point, like I said, I think these moves around opening bell constituted as the pullbacks that we needed, but at the same time, again, still be kind of cautious on how this market has been reacting. God forbid Trump says something and it tanks the market in a ridiculous fashion. I'm not saying that, so don't don't be out here like, well, what if that could happen? Yo, there's still like a certain law that the market has to follow. So it can't break certain parameters. Like it just can't, even though it feels like that if you're on the losing side, it just can't like move with so much aggression that it just breaks the foundation of the market. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's all I got. YouTube. So I will catch y'all on the next video with Digital Goats Academy. I hope y'all had a successful trading day. I hope this today specifically put you in the right direction, but also gives you a little bit more clarity on what's going on with indices. Because again, I know that with my community, with a couple of other traders that sell, like, it busts people's clocks, you know what I'm saying? But at the same token, we had parameters or we had zones already established, so that should provide some type of like clarity for you that, okay, I remember we were discussing this was one of our buy zones. We're here now. Let's look to see if the buy continues. And again, if you want to wait for more confirmation, I'm aggressive, so I'm already in it at the lowest point or trying to be at the lowest point. But you want to wait for more confirmation, like, I need to see a clearer structure, that's okay. You know what I'm saying? Do that. But for me, as long as we stay above these support structures that we've been at, I'm not looking at price to push down any further. The only thing I'm looking at is price to come back down here. If price decides to do that and then create support in order to buy back up, which that could very well happen. And it looks like a W pattern right there if we do that. Let me show you real quick. Feel me? If we get a move like that, but we'll see. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, to me, it looks like we're testing the high. So until we get either, some type of breakthrough, right now we're just, hanging out and consolidating. But this was our buy zone, so that's what I'm sticking to. Anything lower, obviously, we'll have to come back and reassess the market, but that's a clear violation, and sellers are stronger than we thought. But like I said, this is what we were initially waiting for, so I'm gonna roll with this is the buy zone, and like I said, because I already been in profit, like buyers are in the market. So you just find wherever your entry is at. Like I said, the lowest point that I'm looking at is us to meet the Morningstar pattern back down here if we're going to create support. But if not, I believe that price is going to continue the momentum pushing up. So like I said, that's all I got, traders. I hope y'all have a successful trading day. We have today, the rest of today, and then tomorrow. I don't recommend trading on Fridays, but I think if we have the momentum that we need for today, it'll carry on in a Friday. Fridays have definitely been like days that the market produces numbers is surprisingly, you know what I'm saying? Surprisingly, like I don't promote like trading on Fridays, but damn, I've been surprised on these Fridays that the market has the moves that the market has been giving us. But I'll catch you on the next video with Digital Goats Academy. I'm Antoine Farrar, as always, signing off. Peace.